Hi, everybody, and welcome to Metaphysical Insights. Whoops, it looks like I'm starting a few seconds early, but that's okay. Better early than late. I want to introduce two very special people today. These are people I've had the blessing and opportunity to know for quite a few years now. And I believe, didn't we meet on a ghost tour?
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
what I thought. Anyway, this is Monique and Joss Rose with Fright Life Paranormal.
Hi.
Hello.
And welcome. It's great to have you guys here. Um, let's see. I think I have tried to post their web page, which I think is showing. I'll post it again here in just a minute. Right now, we've got a little bit to get people on
Yeah.
board, but we'll start the conversation anyway. Okay, they're starting to come in now. So, hello everybody, and we'll start at the basics. How did you two get involved? Well, first of all, tell us what you do. Then we'll go back to the beginning.
Sure.
Yeah. So right now we have a podcast called Fright Life, and we are covering sort of well-known and documented cases having to do with all things paranormal, hauntings, extraterrestrials, conspiracy theories, cryptids. Um, and we're expanding that into investigations and writing in the near future.
Well,
Um,
present too. You just got published in a book that's coming out pretty soon. It's
yes,
pretty
yes.
cool.
So I was
Awesome.
featured in a literary anthology called The Feminine Macabre. So I write a story in that about Bridget Cleary, which is a nonfiction case. So yeah, we kind of cover it all, and we're looking to expand um, and kind of get a hand in all things paranormal.
Oh, this is fantastic. And I've listened to the podcast several times, folks. It's fabulous. You really want to pay attention to it. And they go into a lot of detail about why, at least in the the shows I've listened to, and it's not just a bunch of im- it's not just a bunch of kind of compartmentalized little sound bites that go up there. It's a conversation about what and how and why and what does it mean and the depth, and it's something that's fascinating, entertaining, and you can learn something. So
Wow.
check it out. I think I've got the website on. I will post it again a little bit later, if people can't see it. But anyway, I was starting to ask, excuse me, when I get live, the ADHD sometimes just goes boom, boom, boom. So,
Totally.
that's
Yep.
just I tell people it's my charm. Um, how did you guys get started in all this? What triggered the bell?
Yeah, so I actually grew up at an early age. I was really scared of, I guess, death or wondering if there is an afterlife. Um, and like we would be driving past a graveyard, and my mom would have to distract me because I was so afraid. Um, and then I don't know, just in like second grade, I just immersed myself in it. And so I did my own sort of immersion therapy and
Okay.
would look up any kind of lore, ghost story, anything I could get my hands on, make up my own. I think that I started some rumor at Beaver Creek Elementary about some very specific haunting. So I wonder if that's still around there with the kiddos. But yeah, and I started a ghost club as a kid. You know, we had a few little meetings. Um, we wanted to contact Abraham Lincoln. That was like my main goal in life as an investigator. But
Still a goal, I
yeah,
would
I
say.
think so. So yeah, I just have always had an interest in. Mine was mostly hauntings and an afterlife and spirits.
Okay. I forgot to tell people these two are also very bright, as you can tell. They started early with the brains working.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Thank you,
So
Joss.
I grew up in a household where Art Bell and Coast to Coast were like staples of entertainment for us. My dad always had something paranormal, conspiracy, UFO related going.
Hmm.
At first, it was really scary to me, kind of like similar to Mo. It's like when you're little and these crazy scary things are kind of floating around all the time, you get scared of it.
Right.
And then as I got older, it just kind of grew into a fascination. So she's more into ghosts and hauntings and things. And my favorite topic is UFOs and extraterrestrials and things like that.
Okay. Interesting. Um, now, what I had a question I was going to ask, and of course I've forgotten it. Um, let's go back to Beaver Creek School because I almost wound up going there. I went to King.
Oh, wow.
Um, and you wound up at the wrong junior high. You went to Oh, you're young enough. Moss and Ogden were probably both built by then, weren't they?
Yeah,
Yep.
I moved to Clackamas around that time, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I came
So,
in the Oregon City area.
okay. Yeah, my dad taught at Gardner. So,
Oh,
Okay,
that's cool.
great.
yeah, and my mom was at Park Place. So,
Okay.
but what was the question I was going to ask? Anyway, oh, tell me what the ghost story was that you created at Beaver Creek, and
Okay.
I'll see if I can do some research and find out if it's still there.
So it was a little girl ghost, like in
Hmm.
gray, around the track. And there was specifically a tree on the playground. And like, if you're looking at the track, I think towards the back right. And so whenever we would cross that tree, it was like this little girl's territory. And so that's kind of, I didn't really have a lot of background information for her, but created her there and told people to kind of watch for her as they passed by that tree on the edge of the track, um, and that they were supposed to be respectful because she just wanted to play with kids.
I love it. Now,
Yeah,
I'm curious, so how much of that was your imagination creating a story, and how much was it a kid that's more sensitive sensing somebody?
yeah, I have wondered that myself actually, because there was a very specific pull to that area of the track. So I'm
Hmm.
not sure which part that came from, or maybe a
Yeah,
little.
yeah, it could be a little of both. And I remember what I was going to mention before. It's interesting your desire to contact Abraham Lincoln because he was supposed to be our first territorial governor.
Oh, okay, yeah, in this area,
Mm-hmm.
His wife wouldn't let him because she knew that they'd never get back to Washington.
right,
This was before he was president, obviously, and they both wanted him in the White House. So she
yeah.
knew this would be a distraction.
And what's interesting is I had no idea when I was a kid and trying to contact the Lincolns is that Mary Todd Lincoln actually did believe in and practice spiritualism even in the White House. So I think
Hmm.
I've figured out that that's kind of interesting. Uh,
Right. Oh, that's fantastic. And I'd forgotten that she did.
yeah,
And it makes sense because so much of that really started during the Civil War in this country, but also in England and other places around that time. The
yeah,
Victorian look at it, but in this country, we were killing so many people every day. There was so much grief and mourning.
right,
People wanted to know and
right.
contact their loved ones.
Yeah,
So,
lost their
mhm.
son. So
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting with her. Now, what kind of projects have you got going as far as some research and investigation? Now, how do you, because I know you said you're getting into the investigation more now too, but are you able to combine the the aliens, the cryptoids, the
mhm.
rest along with the ghosts and those
Uh,
pieces?
yeah, so that's a little bit tricky. So with our podcast, we like to kind of go back and forth between topics. Like if we've done a few hauntings, we'll do an alien, you know, a UFO story or a
Mhm.
cryptid. But our investigations are purely like ghost hunting, basically.
Okay.
We go out in the woods and try to find Bigfoot or anything. We do know people who are doing that, and it's amazing to kind of be a part of it on the sidelines and just cheer them on.
Right.
But we haven't done a lot of sky watching to find extraterrestrial life, but
Definitely something we could do, though. I mean,
we could.
we've
Yeah.
got property out in the country, so prime UFO watching territory out there,
And Sasquatch.
and Sasquatch too.
I was gonna say, depending on where you are, it could be Sasquatch too.
Yeah. So that's basically, we kind of go off and on.
Yeah, and we're looking at getting some folks together to maybe do video and edit that together and branch out into YouTube and
For investigations.
Yeah, for investigations, and
Okay.
we have for even like a whole series involving traveling to places that people can access easily and discovering the history and the hauntings of those places. So
Yeah. I think that's a really good idea because there's so much you can do outside, actually, that you don't need permission to
Yeah.
be in.
Buildings.
And um, you have to be careful about trespassing and stuff, of course. And with a lot of the state, you have to be careful about what kind of snakes and spiders are around. But there's so much all over. Well, in Oregon City, there's a lot.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's outside, um, as you both know.
Yes.
And
go
go ahead. No.
What really fascinates me, I of course want to investigate and apply scientific method and all of the new instrumentation to trying to capture evidence. But
Mhm.
while I love that, what I've found so far is talking to the community is my favorite piece of investigating. So that's kind of what we want to focus on in our future project, is really hearing the town's ghost stories from the different community members. And then having kind of the investigation part actually take a back seat and be a smaller piece of, if we do a docu-series or something like that.
Right. I like that. It's the human element that's
Right.
important, and you get the history of what's behind this that way too.
yep. It's really
Excellent.
go into a place where we're hanging out with people that we haven't met before, and they're like, oh well, what do you guys do? And like, well, we have day jobs, but also we're paranormal investigators. And
Mhm.
it's always a huge conversation starter. Yeah. Like everybody has stories to tell, and it's just so amazing that it doesn't matter where you're from or what you do. It's like this one topic really brings people together,
Right.
and I mean, you just instantly you're friends with people that you have these conversations with. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's funny. I've got a friend that's an engineer, and he can't get over the fact that when we go someplace together, we were on a cruise together once, and people, these doctors and lawyers and scientists and you name it, um, history professors, literature professors,
Mhm.
they were fascinated by what I do,
Yeah.
not what he did. And I think he was a little put out by it. The smile he put on with it, with the "I don't understand" was a little bit fake. So it's I know exactly what you mean, and it's kind of funny. And you don't, I mean, it all works together, but the the history of the paranormal in some form or another goes back as long as we have any concept of human beings on this planet,
Mm-hmm.
and in some form. And it's always about, there's always a question of what happens after the body ends, and how did we get here, and what is it all, and what's it about, and it just, I don't know, to me it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. And that's something, going back on your question about how we kind of marry all of the topics together, cryptids and extraterrestrials or UFOs and ghosts, is I'm starting to really find my mind expanding and kind of believing the theory that they're all from the same place. Like it's all a more of an ultra dimensional, interdimensional situation. And that's a lot of fun. So I'm kind of exploring that aspect, kind
Excellent.
of that, or what's it called? Theory, where it's all from one
It's all
idea.
connected.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know the name of the theory either, but excellent. And, we've talked before. You do have psychic abilities. Both of you do. And that helps to lead in. You could both do mediumship if you haven't already, just a little training. I happen to know a fabulous teacher, by the way.
Yeah,
Um,
that's high on our priority list, is to get to some of your classes, because it really is. It's interesting to start really delving into the topic of the paranormal and how it affects your mind and your ability to perceive these things. And it just seems like, since we started recording our podcast, like in our apartment, this, like, actually where we're sitting right now is where we record our podcast.
right.
We've had just crazy things happen while we're recording. Like, I've been tapped on the shoulder, and it freaks her out, and it's kind of a comedic moment in our podcast, but it happened while we were recording, in the middle of discussing something that requires you to kind of have an open mind and be
Thanks, Roger. Yeah.
So I think that studying more of that psychic ability and opening that part of our minds is definitely something that would just help our.
Yeah. I remember being on an investigation with you, William, at the Heathman Hotel.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we were up in one of the rooms, and I started having like tightness in my throat. And you were saying, well, explore that, because it could be that I was picking up on something having to do with the spirit or entity in the area, trying to tell me something.
Right.
So Joss is usually a lot more sensitive and in tune than I am, or than I allow myself to be. Mine kind of comes when I'm not trying to have those moments, and so I don't always recognize them in the moment, and then later Joss is like, whoa, that you did that thing where you thought this, and it but yeah, we would love to come to a class or several and tap that for sure.
Well, tomorrow at Coffee Rush from 3 to 5, I've got a class. You two could come as my guests.
Yeah.
If you're free.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And,
we'll be there.
Coffee Rush, for those that aren't listening, is 9th and Main in Oregon City, and it's crazy haunted. That's why I teach classes there. So, excellent. Do you have more of an idea, the two of you, about what paranormal entities are? We're going to start with the idea of ghosts. And there are so many definitions of that, but these beings that were living humans once, or breathing humans.
Yes.
That, we don't want to say they're necessarily dead now, just because obviously the spirit doesn't seem to be, the soul.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a broad topic, and I think that between the two of us, we have a bunch of different theories that are like working through and connecting dots.
Theories.
Exactly. As we go through our research and learn new things, it changes perspective on what exactly we think this is, and for me, it's all energy. I mean, that's the long and short of it. And I think it's, when you're talking about a haunting, if you're using ghost hunting terms, like a residual haunting, where it seems to be the same playing out over and over and over again. Those things to me seem like kind of timestamps, that we're able to. So it's not necessarily to do with the human spirit or human energy or exactly. It's more of like almost like a time travel kind of paradox thing,
Well, and I'm really interested. I've been kind of doing some preliminary work into like a Gettysburg episode and the theory that the stone tape theory with residual hauntings, that
That's so cool.
you know, geological makeup of that area allows that to happen, where it is a recording and it's all, you know, electromagnetic field and different types of stone. And it makes sense if you think of, you know, a cassette tape. That's literally what that is made of, that can be imprinted on.
Right.
When something has a massive output of energy and there's something with the geological makeup, there's, you know, I don't know it inside and out, but it's something I'm starting to look into that I'm really interested in.
Great.
So.
And that makes a lot of sense. That's part of why people talk about Oregon City so much too, is it's all basalt.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then people talk about iron, the rail line, which goes right through the main downtown, and then the second longest northerly flowing river in the world, with the largest waterfall by volume, second largest in the country, if not North America. So if those theories about these things being projectors and storing and conduits are true, then that explains a lot.
Right.
I also tend to think a lot of it is simply, this is the oldest incorporated city west of the Mississippi,
Right.
and this was such a powerhouse for a long time. That that just builds it all in. So much of that history keeps repeating itself.
Right.
Good. Excellent. What about cryptoids?
So
I know you've got the Bigfoot interest, but what about the other ones? And what do you believe in them, or?
It depends on the. I think with kind of the idea where everything's connected, because it's more of a thing that makes me, or
it's more of a what? I'm sorry, something I didn't quite hear.
Sorry, like an interdimensional or ultradimensional beings kind of coming in and out of our space.
Right.
A lot of that is based on these window areas, like Mount Shasta in Utah, where there are sightings of not only Bigfoot type creatures or dogmen, like werewolf type creatures, but prehistoric, like Paleolithic creatures. These weird sightings, and that's where we kind of are wondering if they're just like popping in and out because they're just in the wrong dimension or the wrong time for a moment. But of course, that's
just spitballing theories that we've had. I mean, this is one of the things that is really important to us as researchers and podcasters is the availability of data. And it's so important. Like, you know, you see sometimes these videos on YouTube that are like, oh, I totally saw this crazy creature, and it's really blurry, and you know, it seems like they have a certain like amateur acting kind of vibe, and it's really staged, you know, and that stuff. It's upsetting as a researcher, because you know you want real, and then you're looking at it like, I just don't know. So for me, I love the idea of cryptids, and I just am not quite convinced that it's paranormal. But you know, there's so many. Sorry, somebody's driving a lawnmower past our house. Apparently, there's so many undiscovered things out there that once you actually could find a Bigfoot per se, you know, and we could study and be like, oh, well, actually, it turns out this is sort of like halfway between a bear and an ape, you know, once apply science to it.
So that's kind of the other element, the biological path of cryptids is, you know, they're just missing links or undiscovered species out there. Of course, you know, we have, I think the platypus wasn't even documented as a creature until like the 18th century.
Yeah.
So, So
if ever there was a cryptid, the
Yeah.
platypus
Right.
is a
So
prime
weird.
example.
Yeah. And the poor thing, once they were discovered, they wiped them out pretty fast.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's interesting that you think that way, because it's along the lines of what I think as well. And I'm one of these people, I have to see it to believe it.
Yep.
I know things are real because, or certain types of things, because I've had a physical experience that I can't explain any other way. And I look, and I have I've tried talking to Bigfoot from airplanes and stuff like that, and I had what I was seeing as a psychic and as a medium and telepathic communications, but I couldn't be sure that it was real because I hadn't seen one yet. I didn't know. And I did see one on an outing, and I had a lot of communications before that and some after with some that were in the area. I was with a group of people, and they made it very clear that they are interdimensional,
Oh man, that's so.
and they don't want any proof of their existence in this world because they don't want to wind up as on a trophy wall or in a zoo.
Right.
And they know, well, like the one batch, it was a little family unit. The father basically said, "No good comes with man, or no good follows man." Comes, I think was the word, and absolutely right.
Yeah.
And so that's why, even though we were, the group of us and the leader in particular, were really getting friendly with them, we couldn't quite see them. We
Mhm.
sensed them. We knew they were there. You could kind of see a shimmer where they were, almost, but they were on the other side of the trees and not fully visible yet. These weren't the ones I saw. The same night, same trip, but they were clear. And the elementals, which I also know are real, because I thought for a long time maybe these creatures of folklore are real. It's just that they're in and out of the dimensions.
Right.
And then I'd seen several of them, including at daylight. Not just sensed them, but I've seen them a few times. And
Wow.
so I know they do exist. And they confirmed that, yeah, the Bigfoot are just kind of like them. They're in and out.
Mhm.
And now, do I expect anybody to believe me because I say so? No, because um, I'd have to really know somebody well before they took their word
Right.
about that. That not that they would be lying, but are they interpreting what they're seeing and that kind of thing correctly?
Right.
And I'm still open that I may have misseen the Bigfoot, maybe, but I looked at him for quite a while, and it was pretty clear. I can't think of anything else. It
Wow.
certainly wasn't a bear, and it wasn't a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's so cool.
There is a
Yeah.
lot of indication of like ghost lights and missing time and almost like what you would think of UFO activity around Bigfoot sightings as well.
That's what I hear. And the night before I arrived, they claimed said they saw UFOs up in the sky. This was up in the Cascades. Now these were just little tiny pinprints of light, supposedly moving the wrong ways or something. I'm not going to say that's a UFO with something like that.
Mhm.
None of these people are aeronautical engineers or rocket scientists. None of them are um, astrophysicists. They don't know. And I don't know. Now, I have seen one I do recognize, and it's in the Malala corridor area that is supposed to be famous for Bigfoot as well. And it was very big and very round with lots of layers of colored lights. And it was, it wasn't moving fast, but it was moving in straight line, things like that.
Weird.
Okay.
And it was quiet, and it was big enough and close enough that if it was making noise, we would have heard it.
Yeah.
Okay.
and it certainly wasn't a helicopter. And then we saw it go down by a hill. I was in high school. We had a place on the river that we just, for swimming and stuff. And a friend of mine sometimes would just go out there at midnight and just talk.
Mhm.
And we didn't do drugs. We weren't drinking. Then nothing to alter our states of consciousness. And we thought about going to see it if we could find it.
Where it
And then by the time we got back into the car, we thought, oh, it's really close and we might find it. Yeah, I dropped him off at his house and went home the other way.
Yeah.
But so, there's something. But I don't know what it is. And it could be interdimensional too. Maybe it's us in just one of our other universes
Mhm.
from quantum. I don't know enough about quantum mechanics and string theory, but how much of all this is related,
Right.
and that's part of what you're looking into, it sounds like,
Yeah.
to me is fascinating.
Yeah, us too.
Yeah,
Just all the possibilities.
it's one of those sort of rabbit hole topics, and it leads to the next thing and the next thing, and pretty soon it's like I have so much information, I don't know how to make this coherent.
Mhm.
Luckily, amazing writer and researcher, and does a great job putting all these ideas together. Whereas I just know a little bit about a lot of stuff, because it
Right.
keeps on like
Well,
tangents.
there's so much.
Yeah.
It's hard to.
It is. Well, you make a good collaborative couple this way too. It works out, and it's hard, even with the information you're getting. In some ways, research was a lot easier back in my day when I wrote a history degree on a manual typewriter out of libraries and archives and newspaper offices, because you know your the documents you're using.
Mhm.
Right.
You know the background of the authors and they're real. They're not a forgery of somebody else's.
Yeah.
And with everything online these days, it's a lot harder to be certain about that, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just too old and don't know how to figure it out. But
No.
I
Yeah.
completely.
That's where I use that is where I tap into my intuition. I can tell like 3 seconds if I'm going to like that resource or not. And
Mhm.
I different one. I kind of hone in on, I'm a good, BS detector.
Yeah.
I'll say.
Good. That's important. Yeah,
No,
that's a good way to work with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And frankly, in this field, there are a lot of people out there that resemble that BS remark.
Right.
And there are a lot of good people out here, and there are some really good people who swear by what they're thinking and doing, and they really should have a better BS detector on themselves.
Right.
But so it's like anything, makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Always an adventure when you're dealing with the paranormal.
Yeah.
Yep. It would be interesting if you guys did do, and I don't know where your property is, and I'm not going to ask. It's probably not a good idea to put out on. I've got contacts all over the world that sometimes watch these things eventually. So, and you do. So,
Mhm.
but if you've got something that there are forested areas, if it is close to one of the rivers, shoot, I've got friends in Canby close to the Malala River that they've heard Bigfoot activity,
Oh wow.
and the husband is a scientist and he knows a lot. He's worked in archaeology and a lot with bones and different things, and he's got a pretty good idea about what is and what isn't normal animals. if you put me out in the middle of the woods, I wouldn't know a bear from a fox, from a cougar, from a a screech owl.
Yeah.
But he does. So um, that's an important piece to it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it'd be fun to see what you came up with,
Mhm.
and if you saw interesting aerial phenomena
Mhm.
and even heard some interesting things that you could not explain away.
Right.
And then check out and see if there are any fae running around as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
That's it's all connected, and finding uh, ways to document all of those things all together. That's like the ultimate. That'd be
Right.
so cool.
The best documentation probably FLIR.
What was that? You went blank there for a minute. I mean, silent. What was it you said?
Just capturing the best footage so that, if you don't have the team assembled on the ground, you can have people reference your footage, experts chime in on that.
Right. And you also sometimes can get, well, especially when you're doing research for ghosts, for lack of a better word, entities is the word I like. A lot of times, the information, the evidence comes not when you're doing a session, but when you're sitting around laughing and joking and just interacting,
Yeah.
Right.
or tea break or something like that. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not in school anymore. Why do I want to sit around and answer questions like you're a professor up there? Um, Joining in the conversation, that's fun.
Right. Right.
So it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But cool. Now you guys have actually quite a lot of activity in your home too, don't you?
Yes.
We do. We try not to tap into it too much. We kind of just want to leave our home peaceful and safe. And you actually tapped into who is in our apartment. You were over for dinner. I think Olivia was 2, so like
It was a
That
while.
was a while ago. Yeah.
um
That was fun. I don't remember what I came up with though, or
Yeah.
tapped into.
so our building is pretty old, and it used to be a type of store. The owner of the store was upstairs where we are now, and she's still around. She's kind of, that's what I had picked up as well. A lot of like closing the windows, closing the doors, just securing her home. She doesn't really mess with us.
Right.
And then, let's see, a couple of weeks later, one of my sisters had come to visit after you had said this, and she doesn't know you. We didn't talk to her, and we actually hadn't spoken in a couple of years, and for a long overdue visit. And she said, there's a old lady in Olivia's bedroom, right? And I was like, oh yeah, we know. So that was another medium picking up the same. And now she wouldn't really call herself a medium. It's been a journey for her to kind of label that, but she definitely saw and validated what you had seen. You unvalidated one another, and it goes with the history of the space as well. So
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And you're right not to encourage the action. Um,
not at home.
no. I've talked people out of having investigations in their houses sometimes. It's just simply, if you have a medium, I mean, I can go in there and talk to the entities often and find out who they are, or at least what they're doing, and if they've got anything. And there've been cases where people have wanted them gone,
Mhm.
and then once you have the dialogue going on, it's like, oh yeah, no problem. They can stay. They're not scary anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can make ground rules, so people have their boundaries.
Yeah.
But there's also you're asking them to amp up the activity in an investigation,
Yeah.
Right.
and then telling them, okay, now that you've performed for us, don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And one, that's rude, and two, it's confusing,
Right.
because part of the reason I know these aren't trapped souls is they're not as complete and complicated as a human being. because I mean, as an adult human being, you have to treat them more often, not talk to them like a young child, but realize that you can't have flexible boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
You can't um, say one thing one day and something else the next day. It's like working with a 2-year-old or with the dog. I mean, and I'm not trying to compare the two, but you've got the same kind of a situation where repetitive boundary learning. And Monique, you know more about this because you work with children.
Yeah.
But you can't. They have to know what's right and what's wrong.
Right. And be consistent about that.
Exactly, and what the consequences are, and the whole bit. Um, and I would think it makes it feel safe. I mean, if you know what's expected, and I think that helps with the entities too. It probably makes them feel, often anyway, more confident
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
in their position in the place, or with they're not going to have to be surprised.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think there are entities that people coexist with every day. And then I do think that there are entities that come in and out of our lives, you know, loved ones.
Hmm.
So, and I have seen, I believe it was Joss's grandma,
Mm-hmm.
full apparition. I talk
Oh,
about the
wonderful!
shows of our podcast, but I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm a very light sleeper. So someone steps into the room or the dog, or, you know, we used to have a cat.
Mm-hmm.
Just one step and I wake up. I'm extremely light sleeper. And so something woke me and I was staring out into the living room, or sorry, into the hallway from the bedroom. And
Hmm.
I saw a full figure to know enough to know. And I just froze, by the way, like froze and just stared because I was trying to figure it out. Enough to know that it was a tall woman in a shirt, pedal pusher pants, low hair, like tied back, or a short, tight hairdo. Um,
Uh-huh.
and she did not resemble my Aunt Jenny, but I got that name in my head. So in the morning, I called my mom and I was like, is Aunt Jenny okay? I had a weird night and I keep thinking that name. And she was like, I told you not to talk to ghosts. She's not into it. But, and she checked on my aunt, and it was just a strange day where I could not shake this feeling. I know that I saw a full apparition in the hallway. And
Right.
so we're out in the living room hanging out later, and Joss was on the phone with his dad, and I was describing the story again, and he's like, well, you know, my mom's name was Jenny, but she had passed long before I met Joss. So I didn't really know that.
Right.
And then he sent me a picture of her and I was like, yep, that was her. And it was like a week before our wedding. And
Wow.
Just checking in.
yeah.
Yeah.
But right when I said, oh, that must have been your grandma, our doorbell rang and no one was there.
Well, the crazy thing about that is that our doorbell actually hadn't worked for a while.
Like it's battery, like nobody used it. It's down. Nobody really even notices that they're there.
Yeah.
They're like,
Uh-huh.
you know, one for each apartment.
Right.
Their battery operated, and I mean, it had been dead for a year. You know, like it hadn't
like nobody
hadn't worked.
Yeah.
And
We have evidence of that. I mean, we didn't test it, see if it worked, but
Right.
people had said they had rang it and never.
Right.
It was really weird. Like we had not ever heard the doorbell in the living here at all.
Yeah.
And it rang right when I said that. So that was really cool.
I love it.
Yeah. That was one of my
Yeah.
best experiences.
Talk about a nice wedding present.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet she was at the wedding too.
Yep.
Hmm. Oh, that's excellent. I love it. Now, speaking of your daughter, I can't remember if you mentioned her name or not, so I'm not going to. I believe in privacy for children. Um, how does she do with all of this?
So she is interested. She likes what we do. She's sort of starting to do more what I did, where she's watching. She doesn't listen to us, but she has like paranormal YouTubers. And
Uh-huh.
she's a paranormal researcher. not us. This case, you guys should look at it. So sometimes she gives us ideas. She is a little. We've wondered about a certain area in our house. We mentioned, having the older lady here and just coexisting with us. If
Mhm.
there's a strange portal or opening or something in a specific spot in our house, because she doesn't like to go there, and she's pretty sensitive, and she will not tell me why.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so that's something. But other than that, she's good with it and has fun with it. She just, will tell us like, I'm gonna go brush my teeth. Will you come with me?
Okay.
So
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So she's picking up on something. I mean, she's had that ever since she was little, right?
yes, that's
The same spot.
Yep.
Yep.
And you were coming over for dinner because we had talked about me seeing little things running through when
Hmm.
she would be playing or toy area.
Right.
Like,
Okay.
but we didn't pick anything up about that. But that's why I think it might be something that opens, closes, or comes in.
Right. That makes sense. And there's a lot that does that. There really can be. And we have a lot of what's called pudgewakis or pukwudgies.
Mhm.
I always get the middle of it mixed up, which are little short creatures. They are kind of shadowy when if you see them in person. And different tribes talk about them differently. My experience with them is give them some respect, and they're fun and playful and
They're kind of like
and fine.
Mhm.
They're kind of what?
they're kind of playful and mischievous a little bit.
Yeah. And but just be cool with them, and they're cool. Some tribes say other things back in the Midwest or the East Coast. I can't remember where, but I haven't heard of any horror stories here. But my own experience with them is they aren't horrible. They're just different. And
When
we've
go ahead.
oh no, when I think we've seen them, experience them down by the tunnel as well, because I've seen the low shadows walking by, and there hasn't been anything around to make that shadow. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's
What were you
interesting.
going to say?
Even with all of these different entity types, it's like humans where, we like to categorize them as bad or good, like as a whole group, but maybe
Right.
there are individuals in this category of entities that are, different from one another in their
Sometimes they're grumpy and
intention or
sometimes
level of
they're
goodness or,
Yeah. And they can be moody like we are or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's part of the fear with if there are extraterrestrial beings, are the ones coming going to be like Adolf and Mussolini, or are they going to be like Mother Teresa?
right.
And that makes a difference on which ones I want to meet.
Right. Yeah.
And it's hard to know. And I don't know, it makes sense that they're extraterrestrial somehow, but I haven't seen any sign of it yet. I know
Yeah.
people that have,
Yeah.
but they say that anyway from what they've seen. But um, I wasn't there, so
Yep.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that too. I'm the same way. I want to see it and experience it before I'm like, yep, that's totally a thing,
Right.
hmm
Most people need that.
Yeah.
yeah. I wish more people did, because there's so many conspiracy theory people out there that are spreading things that can be actually rather damaging and not true.
Right.
And I'm not getting political here. I'm just talking in general. And
They tend
it
to go political.
Oh, I know. Well, if this was a private conversation, I would. But
Yeah.
in the professional world, I try not to, just because I don't want to offend people and create that kind of a deal. My personal Facebook page, well, you see it. So my Para Insights Facebook page, Instagram, whatever, that's a different story. But I try to not
Yeah.
get carried away here either.
Yeah.
Even though we're on the same side.
Mhm.
But cool. Let me put this in again because I'm not sure it showed up.
Website is just frightlifeparanormal.com. We do a lot of our stuff through Instagram still. You know, we don't really get on Facebook a whole lot. So our Instagram is just at frightlifeparanormal.
Yep. And there's links on the website to that too.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I'll just put the website up here, and let me highlight it and see. Does that look right? Right? No typos.
Yeah, it's so small.
Oh, it's big over on mine.
Oh, okay. We have not figured out TikTok yet so much. I think.
Yeah.
Good. I don't have TikTok, and I don't want it.
Yeah.
And I watch some things on it. I'm on Instagram a little bit. Mostly I use it because I can link Twitter and Facebook to it. And so I can, like for the show, I can hit 3 different media at one button.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I have to go into Facebook to share it to my personal page and to, another page or something. But and Twitter, when on the rare case I go online on Twitter, mostly what I see are ads, so I rarely go there, but I post to it.
Yeah.
And but that's it. So don't give up on Instagram and Facebook because that's where I get your stuff. So
Yeah. What we mostly use, and I think
they're tied together. So
that,
yeah. Now, when do you put out your podcast? Do you have a regular schedule?
we do not have we try
We're
to have a
working on it.
regular
we
schedule.
really
We will starting this fall. We're wanting every other Friday.
Whoops, you went away again. Every once in a while, the sound goes out.
Oh no, we're trying to do Fridays, every other Friday, and kind of coining Fright Life Friday, so it's easy to remember when to put.
Okay, I like that, and it's nice to not do weekly. I do twice a month because if I commit to more than that, I may not honor the commitment. Twice a month I can deal with.
Yeah.
Yep.
It definitely it's a weekend to research, and then the next weekend we can record. So there's some wiggle room, and that helps for. I think we pride ourselves on well researched in our show, and that's something that it takes time, and it seems impossible. The quality and level of research that we're shooting for if we're just cranking them out every week. So
and people who do that and more credit to them. I don't know how they do it. I just can't with our day job schedules and the commitments we have outside of the project. There are some excellent weekly shows out there, but I can't do it in that.
Yeah, I was just speaking for us.
Yeah.
Like
Right. No, I didn't take it any other way. Yeah. And I agree. There are some out there that are great that are weekly. And, well, Pete Orbea does a great show every week.
Yeah.
But, and I have no idea how he does it. And,
our day job, and he's got
he runs
a million things going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Josh, you're in a band as well.
Yep, I am.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, just having a lot of things in all the fires all at once, it can be overwhelming. So just giving yourself time to breathe between each project is so.
Yeah, and I'm trying to start, hopefully I can get something submitted, but to write for Paranormality magazine. So everyone should check out that publication as well. You can get digital issues or print issues.
Okay, let me see. Let me try to post this. Come on, computer. Don't mess with me. Okay. So it's whoops. Come on. I'm not at the right angle to do the keyboard right. Um, para,
So Paranormality magazine. And we have some friends on staff there, and I'm hoping to.
is paranormalitymagazine.com?
Yes.
And they have, the Instagram and all that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and they do podcast awards and all of that. I think that we're nominated for.
Yeah, we've been nominated for a couple of podcast awards. It's so exciting.
And
yay!
So if you have a chance out there on the internet, go to the Paranormality website and vote for Fright Life, because we need the votes.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, you guys have earned it. And when do you have? I've heard your band on the internet. I mean, I haven't made it to a concert yet, but I want to.
Yeah.
For people out there, how do they get a hold of that? Because you do a good job. The band is really good.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, my band is called Foxglove. It's spelled like Guy Fawkes, Fawkes, Glove.
Awkes. Okay.
And
glove or gloves?
Yeah,
glove.
Glove. Just
singular.
Just one glove.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a play on the flower and the
and Guy Fawkes.
And Guy Fawkes, or
okay.
Fawkes, Phoenix from Harry Potter, also.
Okay. Now, and can they get to that link from your Paralife? I mean, Fright Life.
No, they're not linked together. But Foxglove, we could probably add that. Yeah. Foxglove Instagram page. We're still working on recording and getting music out there, but you can follow the journey that we're on right
now. on Foxglove, on YouTube or on
Instagram.
Instagram.
Yeah. Instagram and Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So if you're in the Portland area, we have a show coming up on September 7th at the Fix and 2. That's in St. John's. And then we have a show at the end of the month on the 23rd. Oh, sorry. Actually, we have one on the 18th at a place. Sorry, just like bringing up the old mental calendar. September 18th at a place called Turn, which is a record store / venue. It's so cool. And then the 23rd at the White Eagle Saloon.
And
oh, wow.
Yes.
That's big time.
Is pretty major.
Yeah.
/
it's exciting.
Maybe haunted.
Super haunted. So we'll maybe.
It is. And that used to be one of the major jazz venues in town.
Yeah.
And to play there is a big deal.
Yeah.
They asked me to play, so I was like, of course we'll play there. Like, definitely.
Yeah.
Leave it. So
excellent. Oh, good job. Congratulations.
Really.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have to try to get to some of those. I've tried to put down the dates, but people can go and look it up anyway. But
yeah.
Send me messages in advance so I can put things down and remember, and because I do want to go and see and support you one of these days.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
The White Eagle should make a plan for that for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you don't have to worry about getting shot walking from your car in that neighborhood anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. It's getting things are opening back.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember there was a period of time when it was an interesting area, but I mean, you got to keep your eyes open anywhere, but it's a safe place to go now. So, yeah, cool. Now, do you guys have anything else you want to add, mention, talk about?
Sure. Yeah. So did I mention the book?
I think you should mention it again because it was right at the beginning.
I'll mention it a second time. So I have I will be featured in a Macabre. I'm trying to put something together, like a little book signing, and I'm bugging Rocky Smith about it to see if maybe I could host that in his shop.
That would be a perfect place for it.
Yeah,
Yep.
so that should be sometime in October.
Now, if that doesn't work, let me know, and I'll see if we could get it into Coffee Rush.
Yeah,
Okay.
great. Okay.
That'd be fun.
Because as long as it was during their regular hours, they might go for that.
Yeah.
Cool.
And they've been good to me and my stuff I do, so I like to help them out too if it would work.
Yeah.
Excellent, because then you could do a reading from it
Mm-hmm.
and a few things like that.
Yeah, that would be
I'm
so
really
fun. You
excited.
definitely have to do that. That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
Yay.
excellent. And so when are you going to start a newsletter as well?
Oh, I don't know. I want to be just writing all the time.
Yeah.
So.
And the newsletter doesn't have to go out every week or every month. Mine is bi-monthly,
Okay.
except on occasional and when it gets a little bit longer than that because life gets in the way.
Right.
But, something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that.
Great.
Great.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for being on the show today. And, I'm a little devious. This is one way I get a chance to talk to you and see you guys. So, it's there's always a method to my madness. But thank you all again. People spread the show around, let other people know. Check out their websites. You won't be disappointed. And we'll talk to you all on the first week of next month. I have to stop to think what day it is. Anyway, hey, it's before 5, so I guess I have a right. So anyway, take care, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Thank you.